We've all been there. The sky turns black, the winds howl, and the waves of life start crashing over the sides of your boat. Maybe it's a medical diagnosis, a broken heart, or a financial collapse. You're doing everything you can to stay afloat. You're bailing water, you're screaming for help, and then you look over at Jesus. And he's asleep. It's one of the most frustrating images in the Gospels. In the middle of a life-threatening gale, Mark 4 verse 38 tells us Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. Today, we're going to talk about what to do when God seems silent in your storm, and why his sleep isn't a sign of neglect, but an invitation to a deeper peace. The disciples' first reaction was panic. They woke him up and asked the question we've all whispered in the dark, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" When God is silent, our insecurities tell us he has left us. But remember this, Jesus was in the same boat as the disciples. He wasn't watching the storm from the shore. He was in the middle of it with them. If you feel like God is silent right now, look at the boat of your life. Is he still there? If he is in your boat, you cannot sink. Silence is not absence. It is often a test of our trust in his presence over his performance. Why could Jesus sleep? It wasn't because he was tired, it was because he was in total control. You don't sleep during a storm unless you know you are greater than the storm. Jesus slept because he knew the end of the story before the wind even started to blow. He knew that with 3 words, peace, be still, he could muffle the universe. When God seems silent in your life, it's because he isn't worried. If the creator of the stars isn't panicked about your situation, you don't have to be either. His rest is a testimony to his sovereignty. The disciples wanted the storm to stop so they could have peace, but Jesus wanted them to have peace while the storm was still raging. True faith isn't the absence of trouble, it's the presence of God in the midst of it. If Jesus can sleep on a cushion in a hurricane, we can find rest in him even when the waves of our anxiety are high. How do you find that peace? By shifting your focus. The disciples looked at the waves and saw death. Jesus looked at the Father and saw victory. Peace comes when you stop telling God how big your storm is and start telling your storm how big your God is. Eventually, Jesus stood up and rebuked the wind. The storm ceased. But the greatest miracle that day wasn't the calm sea. It was the revelation the disciples received. They asked, "Who is this? Even the wind and the waves obey him." Sometimes, God allows the storm to go on a little longer, and he stays silent a little longer, just so you can discover who he really is. You don't learn that he is a deliverer unless you need delivering. You don't learn he is a comforter unless you are in pain. If you are in a storm today and it feels like Jesus is sleeping, don't wake him up with "Don't you care?" Wake him up with "Lord, I trust you." If this message brought you peace, please like this video and share it with someone who is currently in a storm. Comment, "He is in my boat," to declare your faith today. God bless you, and remember, the storm may be loud, but the sleeper is still in control.